Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we will unpack the devastating confrontations between RJ and Will, and the heartbreaking fallout of Ivy's unapologetic betrayal of Elektra. The lighting in the Forrester Creations executive office always seems to possess a strange, unnatural amber quality, a warmth that feels entirely manufactured, casting long, inescapable shadows across the hardwood floors. I noticed it again today watching the dust motes drift lazily through the air, suspended in a room where time seemingly refuses to move forward. How many times have we seen this exact framing? How many decades have I sat in front of a glowing screen watching two men stand chest to chest in this very room, their faces twisted in a familiar ancestral rage, fighting over a woman who is merely a proxy for their own deep-seated insecurities? It is a Sisyphean loop. I look down at my own hands, noticing the subtle lines that were not there when I first began watching the show, and I feel a profound melancholic dread. My life has changed. I have loved, lost, moved, and aged yet here. In this amber-lit room, the ghosts of the past are merely wearing new faces. Let us be honest about what we just watched. Ridge Forrester, a man whose entire existence is a towering monument to workplace hostility, romantic warfare, and emotional impulsivity, stood before his son RJ and attempted to deliver a lecture on professionalism. Ridge told his son that he would not fire Will Spencer. He demanded that RJ learn to work civilly with people, regardless of personal animosity. The cognitive dissonance of this moment is staggering. Ridge Forrester, who has thrown men out of windows, who has engaged in literal fistfights in design rooms, who has allowed his personal life to dictate the trajectory of a global fashion empire for 40 years, is now the arbiter of corporate decorum. It is a pathology of hypocrisy that the show presents with a straight face, and I find myself staring at the screen with a mix of pity and fascination. RJ, of course, did not listen. He could not listen. He is fundamentally incapable of growth because he is trapped in the narrative gravity of his family's legacy. Instead of absorbing his father's warning, RJ marched directly into another fierce showdown with Will. He is determined to make Elektra his, but at what cost? He does not see Elektra as a human being with her own agency. He sees her as a territory to be conquered, a prize to be kept out of the hands of a Spencer. RJ continues to slam Will, comparing him to his father, Bill Spencer, using the legacy of their families as a weapon. It is here that the voyeuristic tragedy of the show truly reveals itself. RJ's arrogance is not born of confidence, but of a deep, unacknowledged terror. He wears the Forrester name like a suit of armor, believing it grants him an inherent superiority over Will. But Will, backed into a corner, exhausted by the relentless hostility, finally fires back with a statement that shatters the very foundation of RJ's identity. "You're not even a Forrester." I paused the episode when Will uttered those words. The silence in my living room was deafening. I took a sip of wine, feeling a strange ache in my chest. That single sentence is a masterclass in psychological warfare, and it opens a catastrophic can of worms that the show has kept buried for years. For newer viewers, it might seem like a petty insult, but for those of us who have aged alongside these characters, it is a devastating exhumation of trauma. Ridge Forrester is not the biological son of Eric Forrester. He is the son of Massimo Morone, the Forrester name that RJ wields with such entitlement. The legacy he uses to belittle Will is a biological fiction. It is a title maintained by mutual agreement by the grace of Eric Forrester's love, not by blood. Will weaponizing this truth is cruel, yes, but it is also a brilliant deconstruction of RJ's unearned arrogance. It dawned on me today that this is not just a rivalry over a girl. This is an existential war for identity. Will is a Spencer bloodbone in name. RJ is playing dress-up in a legacy that, genetically speaking, does not belong to him. Will's slam exposes the fragile architecture of the Forrester superiority complex. It is a moment of terrifying honesty in a show built entirely on beautiful lies. I find myself wondering if anyone else feels this strange grief watching these two young men tear each other apart. They are carrying the burdens of their fathers, fighting a war that was declared before they were even born. They are trapped. But I suppose I am asking too much from a daytime drama to resolve generational trauma. Let us turn our gaze to the other side of this sprawling, incestuous universe. Across town, a different kind of violence was taking place. The quiet, intimate violence of family betrayal. Daphne Rose Walton, burdened by a morality that is so rarely rewarded in this fictional world, finally reached her breaking point. Carter had advised her to stay out of it to protect her own peace, but Daphne could not live with the silence. She approached Elektra and shattered the young woman's reality, confessing the entire horrifying truth about Ivy's manipulation. She told Elektra about the stolen letter. She told her about the discarded WE necklace. She dismantled the illusion of Will's abandonment piece by agonizing peace. We must examine the psychology of Electra in this moment. Imagine believing that the man you love simply walked away from you. Imagine internalizing that rejection, carrying the heavy, suffocating weight of inadequacy, only to discover that your heartbreak was entirely manufactured by the person you trusted most in the world. Electra always knew Ivy wasn't Will's biggest fan, but she never not in her darkest. Most paranoid moments believed her aunt would deceive her with such clinical cruelty. When Electra finally confronts Ivy, the scene is dripping with a profound, almost suffocating sorrow. Electra is demanding answers, her voice trembling with the raw, jagged edge of a newly opened wound. She is looking at her aunt, searching for a flicker of remorse, a shadow of guilt. She is waiting for the apology that would confirm Ivy's humanity. But the apology never comes. Ivy Forrester stands there cold, immaculate, and utterly unrepentant. She does not look away. She does not lower her voice. She justifies her actions with terrifying ease. She admits to the scheming, and then with a chilling lack of shame, she tells Electra that she would do it all over again. This is where the show transitions from a soapy melodrama into a genuine psychological horror story. Ivy's pathology is breathtaking in its arrogance. She does not view Electra as a grown woman capable of making her own choices. She views her as a child, a pet, a piece of property that must be protected from the Spencer men. Ivy has convinced herself that she is a benevolent god moving chess pieces across the board to ensure Electra's safety. But in reality, Ivy is merely projecting her own unresolved damage, her own elitist prejudices onto her niece. I sat back in the quiet of the early morning listening to the hum of my refrigerator and thought about the nature of control. Ivy's actions are not born of love. Love requires respect. Love requires the terrifying vulnerability of allowing the people you care about to make their own mistakes. Ivy's actions are born of a desperate need to control an uncontrollable world. She is so terrified of a Spencer infiltrating her family line that she is willing to emotionally mutilate her own niece to prevent it. The cognitive dissonance of watching this is jarring. I know I am being emotionally manipulated by a team of writers who need to fill airtime, yet I felt a genuine, visceral anger watching Ivy defend the indefensible. I felt a profound pity for Electra. What does this mean for Electra's future? She is now standing at the precipice of a terrifying realization. The people who share your blood are often the ones holding the sharpest knives. Ivy was the one person Electra thought she could trust implicitly. They were partners not just in family, but in their jewelry line. Now the very foundation of their relationship has been exposed as a rotting, deceitful lie. Can Electra even look at the jewelry they created together without seeing the reflection of her aunt's betrayal? The spoilers suggest she might try to bow out of the line entirely, and frankly, who could blame her? How do you sit in a design room sketching symbols of beauty and connection with a woman who actively plotted to destroy your happiness? And what if Will Electra must now rethink her entire separation from him? The man she thought abandoned her was actually waiting for a letter that never arrived. The necklace she poured her heart into was tossed aside not by a callous lover but by a calculating aunt. The tragedy is that time has already been lost. Will has grown closer to Melissa Dillon. RJ has entrenched himself in Electra's life, armed with his Forrester entitlement and his desperate, obsessive need to win. The damage is done. The bell cannot be unrung. I look at these characters trapped in their beautiful, brightly lit cages, and I mourn for them. Ridge will continue to fail as a father, unable to pull in the reins on RJ, because he cannot recognize that his son is merely a reflection of his own worst impulses. RJ will continue to pursue Electra, blinded by a rivalry that has consumed his humanity. Will continue to fight for his dignity, weaponizing the deep, painful secrets of the Forrester lineage just to survive the onslaught. And Electra poor. Shattered Electra must decide whether to rebuild her life from the ashes of her aunt's deceit or to walk away from the Forrester world entirely. It is a beautiful, tragic, cyclical nightmare. They will learn nothing. They will repeat these same mistakes in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. And I, sitting in the quiet dark with my empty glass of wine, will probably still be watching them. The illusion of time standing still is a terrifying comfort. We watch these shows because they promise us that no matter how chaotic our real lives become, no matter how many people we lose, how many gray hairs we find, how many dreams we abandon Ridge Forrester, we'll still be standing in that amber-lit office, fighting a war he can never win. But tonight, as I turn off the television and the screen fades to black, the silence of my own life rushes back in. I am left with the strange, lingering ache of having witnessed a profound betrayal, a generational trauma, and the heartbreaking realization that for these characters there is no escape, there is only tomorrow's episode.